A man reads what is considered one of the greatest female-driven novels of American literature. That man is me. Hello, my name is Ben Koeberle, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button for new content every week on this channel. On my second channel, Monologue Theatre, for which I put a link down below, I recently posted a video of me performing a monologue of the male love interest of today's featured book. I will put a link for my video as well down below in the description. Anyway, on to this video. Today I will be discussing the novel Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I read this novel back in February. It took me 3 to 4 weeks to read it. As you can see here, this is the Barnes & Noble Classics edition of Little Women. What I love about the Barnes & Noble Classics paperback edition of Little Women is it's unabridged, which is really nice. I like reading the unabridged editions of classic books and novels. I feel when you read the unabridged edition of the book, you get the whole flow and the whole structure of the author's writing in particular, from when they first wrote it, whether it was 100 years ago or 150 years ago or 200 years ago. In this case, I felt like I was reading the story that Louisa May Alcott wrote a little more than 150 years ago, back in the 1860s. Along with that, you have a whole timeline of the author's life. Now, Louisa May Alcott, she was born in 1832, and she died in 1888. Before you start reading the book, you have a timeline of everything that was going on in the world during her life, along with important milestones in her personal life and her professional life. Also, you have the stuff that was going on before and after the book's initial publication. Little Women was published from 1868 to 1869. Part 1 was published in 1868. Part 2 was published in 1869. In addition, you have an essay by Camille Cauty talking about the connections between Louisa May Alcott's life and the female protagonist of her book, Jo March. Along with the story, she loosely based a lot of the events in the book on her own early life and upbringing in Massachusetts during the early to mid-19th century. So in the essay you have as well an analysis of some of the elements and some of the themes to the story and what makes the story so significant even in a century and a half later after this book was first released. The book is 400 to 500 pages long. That's the range of the book's length. But in this edition, it's 462 pages. I did the math and I counted. It's 462 pages. Little Women is a semi-autobiographical novel of Louisa May Alcott's early life and early experiences. Little Women is about the 4 March sisters from the March family. You have Meg, who is the oldest. Then you have Jo, who is the protagonist of this particular story. Jo is the literary alter ego of Louisa May Alcott. Louisa May Alcott based a lot of Jo on herself when she wrote this book. After Jo, you have Beth. And last but not least, you have Amy, though all 4 of those sisters in that particular birth order. The book is about their friendships and their experiences with one another during and after the American Civil War. The American Civil War is the backdrop of the story, but Little Women is set on the home front and largely is told in the third person of the female characters in this book. The male characters in Little Women, you could say, are very much supporting. What I liked about the book is I feel even as a male reader, there's so much I could take out of reading Little Women. I feel the book very much explained about the roles of men in society. The book explained the roles of women in society and their gender roles in particular. Even 150 years later, I do feel like Little Women has a lot to say about men, women, and their roles in the world, I would say. Also, another thing I liked about the book is I felt like I could relate to this family, and by the time I got done with Little Women, I feel like I could relate to this family in particular. I felt like I knew these people very much so. What I didn't like about the book, I would say, is I did feel the book could be a little didactic and preachy at times. As a male YouTuber mentioned in his book review of Little Women, I did feel the book could be a little didactic and preachy in certain chapters and certain spots. It probably had to do with the fact that Louisa May Alcott and her family, they were transcendentalists, so it's very likely that Louisa May Alcott applied a lot of her beliefs into her writing. But overall, I would say my positives pretty much trump the negatives, so that's just one criticism I have there. Would I recommend Little Women? Yes. I would recommend this book to everybody. I would recommend it to young girls. I'd recommend it to women. I'd recommend it to boys. I'd recommend it to men. I do think even if you're male, I do think there's something that you can take out of this book, I would say. The characters in this book, they're not one-dimensional. They're not cartoonish or cookie cutter. They feel like real people. They're so complex and so flawed, but they're endearing and relatable at the same time. So that's what I liked about this story. Should men read Little Women? As I mentioned, I pretty much answered my own question just a minute ago. Yes, I do think men should read Little Women. I'm going off notes here from what I wrote a few days ago. Can men reading books such as Little Women make them more empathetic, understanding men? Yes, I definitely think reading books such as this one here can make them more empathetic and more understanding. So I definitely would take that one as a yes. I could relate to the family's emotional and financial circumstances. I was born and raised in a middle-class, working-class family, so reading this book, I could relate to their hardships and their struggles. Even though this story takes place 150 to 160 years ago, I could see where this family was coming from exactly. Nowadays, I live in a world full of smartphones, social media, TV, the internet, movies and whatnot. But even though this book is set in another time period, I do feel there's so much you could take out of reading this book, I would say. So I want to hear what you have to say, so in the comments section, make sure to tell me and let me know your thoughts on the story. Did you like this book? Did you dislike this book? Do you have a favorite character? Is there a character you dislike? What are your favorite characters? What characters do you not like? Is there a passage or a quote that caught your eye or struck you as you were reading this book? Are you thinking about reading this book? Also, Louisa May Alcott, she did go on to write a couple follow-up books after the success of Little Women. She wrote Little Men, and she wrote Jo's Boys, and since I liked this book very much, I definitely am going to look into reading Little Men and Jo's Boys at some point. Perhaps I will do a video review of each of those two books. So let me know in the comments section. This was my first book review here on YouTube, so I am appreciative and grateful that you took the time and went out of your way to watch this video. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe as well. So, if you're still with me and you're still stuck around here, thank you very much. I know the world is in a very hard, tough place right now. Everyone is facing their hardships and they're struggling right now. So I just want to say thank you for going out of your way and taking time out of your day or night to watch this video here. And eventually I'm going to do more videos, so if you have a book that you would like me to read and eventually do a review on, let me know. I would love to hear what you have to say, and if you put a comment in the comment section, I'm going to reply to as many of you as I possibly can, because I'm all about reaching out and trying to communicate with people. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day or evening. Take care, everyone. Bye.